Hello, Jason Gomes here. So I love the idea of independent living and living off the grid, and I just wanted to share some ideas with you that I would like to be building in the near future. So the idea of being off the grid is being independently powered, having your water source, and also a food source, heating, air conditioning, basically, electricity, modern convenience with coupled into that the ability to live in nature, because that's really ultimately what I would like. I would much rather live in nature with the ability to grow all my own food and not have any need to participate in the rat race. So I want to explain these three things to you. This I have called the Harmony generator. It is a reworking off some Nikola Tesla patents from the 40s. So what you're looking at here is you've got a capacitor bank which stores the energy, and then you've got a solar cell which powers up the initial reaction. So the solar cell powers, you go through a transistor which pulses this coil according to this Hall sensor, which senses the position north-south of this magnet to get it to rotate. So once these magnets are rotating, gyroscopic torque makes the whole thing rotate according to the right-hand rule. So this receiver coil out here is connected to this diode, which is then fed into the capacitor bank. Now, this is oversimplified, and that's just to make it easier to talk about. But basically, this receiver coil is actually receiving C squared in terms of the amount of energy being put into the system, because you have one C, which results in rotation, right? So the faster this thing is rotating, the more tightly these magnetic field lines get wound around each other, or the more intense, the higher the amperage of your magnetic field strength. Now, as it circles, every time it passes, it also increases the field strength by multiplying the dimension of rotation. So now you have one dimension of rotation multiplied by another dimension of rotation, and that's where this coil is receiving both power sources. So when this coil is receiving enough energy here, it can actually power this coil and store energy as well. And that's because most of the energy is actually being created by the momentum, or the gyroscopic torque created by a free spinning body. So this spinning body essentially isn't doing any work, so it's operating at the maximum efficiency, which is causing the highest amount of gyroscopic torque, and the gyroscopic torque plus the rotation itself magnifies the intensity of the energy that you're getting. So that allows you to essentially use inertia and momentum to perpetuate energy. And once you have energy, you can get rotation. So this is a Tesla turbine, and it's inside a kind of looks like a Nautilus shell, right? And it pulls in energy, and then it goes out. So this is actually an air compressor, right? So it's pulling in energy and creating a cyclone. That's why it's called an Aquarius cyclone. So over here you would have an aluminum, or you'd have another condenser material, something that's rapidly cooling that won't erode in water. So as this material rapidly cools, wind is being pulled across the surface. And because of the fact that it's in the shape of a funnel, it dramatically reduces the wind resistance, meaning the wind moves faster, meaning that it cools down much more quickly than you would have if you just had straight plates. So the idea is this cooling material pulls in moisture from the atmosphere, and you get right here, you just have a particulate filter, which creates sort of like a little membrane for dust and whatnot. And then inside here, this is getting so cold that it actually, as the wind comes across it, it's pulling the water down into your reserve tank here. Now, once you have water, it's important to cycle water. Cycling water keeps water healthy, and the vital energy, or the electromagnetism in water, can vary by as much as 40,000 times, depending on how well it's structured. So this is a water structurizer and a cycling device. One of the major problems with water is that it requires constant energy in order to stir it, in order to keep it moving, or it requires chemical purification in order to keep it from going stagnant. This is a device that's designed to operate with zero power, no pumps, and essentially no moving parts that would allow water to continuously recycle itself as well as be structured. So this right here represents a water structurizer. It's in my kitchen if you wanted to see it. Basically, it's a magnetic tube, and then there's a specific geometry that the water flows through as it exits, and it actually structures the water. So you have your air exchange and then your water exchange that keeps these two pressure tanks, or these two water tanks, equally pressurized. So as this tries to increase in pressure, the increase in pressure here results in the water flowing up into the first container. So these two are sealed. This one would be like open, covered, so that it's protected so that things can't get inside, but it has air that can circulate and flow from the atmosphere, because that's what allows this whole system to work. These two are closed, this one is opened, so it can constantly pull in more air without applying any vacuum pressure, because if you were to seal it, obviously this whole system would stop functioning. So the idea is, once you have cycling water, this I want to incorporate into an aquaponic system, so that you have cycling water that's essentially drip fed through a fish tank, right? And then fed through your food. So the end of the day, you'd have something that's powering your house, something for air conditioning, water. Of course, as soon as you have electricity, you can generate heat, and you'll have clean, fresh water to drink tied into an aquaponic system, so you have food in the form of vegetation and fish. I mean, that's my dream, is to be able to live completely independent of any kind of need for a government, right? Because the government's nice, but when we become totally and completely dependent on them, that's when they become tyrannical. And I think that as more people take their power back and stop feeding all of their resources into a machine of consumption, of disposable products, I would like to create something that would last a long time, that would benefit a lot of people. Because as much as I would love this kind of stuff, I can only imagine what these sorts of technologies might do for people in rural parts of the world that have a lot to offer, and that are really great people and could help us take care of the planet. And we could help them enormously by simply taking them out of extreme poverty that our society is effectively creating. That's my dream. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for watching.